I want to bring this up, fellas. Wide receiver ranking list, 33rd team came out with it. And the Lions came in at 13 as their wide receiver room. They're ahead of the Chiefs. I don't know if they're counting tight ends. I don't know. But if this is just strictly wide receivers.
I'm assuming not, because when you look at I guess they got.
Well, no, they're counting weapons. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, they're not counting weapons. They're counting wide receivers. Yeah, or else they would say
just strictly wide receivers, like 1 through 4, maybe.
So they're 13 on this list. They're ahead of the Chiefs. They're ahead of the Bucs. They're ahead of it's a lot of teams on here. I mean, even the Jags you brought up, they're almost 10 spots higher than them, and they have a couple guys. Ooh, and then the Chargers are last, and the Texans are first.
I mean, it sounds weird, but I have an issue with how high that the Lions are ranked. Like, as far as depth goes. Like, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's a clear number 1, so I'm going to put that. Okay, so if you're going to put them there. But when you start looking at it, like I look at a team like the Raiders and obviously Devontae Adams, but then even guys like Jacoby Myers, the season that he had last year with Jimmy Garoppolo and the likes of them, and you compare that to the season that Jameson Williams had last year. I definitely think that Jameson Williams is more talented, but it's just, I'm not saying it's like, oh, you got to put it's just a lot closer. And then the one that really trips me up is the Jets, because I think Garrett Wilson, I think he's a top 10 wide receiver talent-wise, and you had Mike Williams. They just brought in Malachi Corley, so there's a lot of pieces going on there. And then even the Buccaneers, like you said, Jeff. Again, Mike Evans, first ballot Hall of Famer. Chris Godwin's been a guy that's been doing it forever. I really like Trey Palmer. So it's tough. I mean, hey, I'll take the generous ranking, but I think it's a little too generous, but I'm not going to be mad at it, obviously.
Where are you at with it, Boone?
I mean, I think it goes both ways a little bit. Like the Titans room, like you guys know I'm a Titans guy with Will Levis and everything, but like I would rather have the Lions wide receiver room than the Titans, and they have Ian has him at the Titans at 11. So like, and yeah, like the Chiefs have stacked wide receiver room right now. So it's interesting. I think it's just like the Lions probably in the middle of the pack. Like I think the reason they're at 13 is because you see a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown on the team, and you know what he is. And Jameson Williams is supposed to take a big step. So you know what those two guys are going to be. The only worry, like the thing to me, it's like if you're looking from front to end in the wide receiver room, that's what the Lions, like you guys already know I have an issue with what's going on right now in that wide receiver 4-5 spot. Like outside of J-Mo, Khalif, and Amon-Ra, I have an issue with what's going on there. And I think a lot of these teams, you can say they're a little deeper in the room. Now, do they have an Amon-Ra St. Brown? No, there's only about 4 teams in the NFL that have a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Hey guys, I interrupted today's video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. Currently, BetUS is offering you a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits for up to $2,000. Now, terms and conditions apply. Please bet responsibly. Link will be in the description. Sign up using our link. And with the football season coming around, Detroit Lions fans, you want to make some extra money. Well, there are lines that are currently out there that I like. For example, and I'll show you this one. Aiden Hutchinson is plus 1,200 to win Defensive Player of the Year. If I'm telling you right now, that is favorable. Good odds on a player that is expected to have a monster year. Only on betus.com. Check it out. Let's get back to the video.
So that's where like you get pushed up really high up in those rankings because you have a top 5 wide receiver on your team. And if he stays healthy, he's a possession guy who's like it's hard to like look at outside of the Lions here at 13. Is there a team back there besides maybe the Raiders with Devontae Adams that has a top 5 guy on their team? No. Every team that I guess the Cowboys, yeah, but like to me, outside of CD, they
no, I know. I'm just naming.
So like you really don't see that. So that's where I think the reason why they put him at 13. I like the outside of those 3 guys, though, that's the concern for me. So I think it's just like the middle of the pack for the Lions, like 13 to like 17. I think it's fair. I think you're able to kind of just sit there and say that's fair, especially with the way the J-Mo hype's been building and what he's been doing in camp. I think it's fair to say that you're expecting a lot out of him too.
Yeah, I don't know if I think they're a little too high, but I'd probably knock them a couple spots, but I don't hate it. They're about middle of the pack, which, you know, when you look at some of the NFC teams, I mean, you look at the Eagles and Niners, both top 10, actually top 7, if you want to go like just to put it that way, top 7 wide receiver rooms. The Lions are 13th, and those are teams that are going to be competing with you. That's where it gets like, okay, just to put in perspective. But if we're just going off wide receiver room, that's that. But if you go off weapons, The Lions, I mean, you take in running backs and you throw in Sam Laporta, it's a completely different story. So, although you look at this and you're like, ooh, I'm not as concerned. I mean, because the Rams are at 9. They're a couple spots ahead, and the Rams got Puka and Cooper Kupp. I mean, those are 2 great wide receivers, but I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I would probably knock them back a little bit, but it is what it is.
The thing that irks me the most is that they have the Lions high, but the team they have them in front of or behind is the Cleveland Browns with Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and Elijah Moore. Like that's the Lions are like that. That's where like the Browns are way too high. Like I would probably put the Lions, push them back to where the Jets are, and push everybody forward, and put the Browns like under the Raiders. Like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers are definitely better than Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. There's no question about that.
Yeah. I mean, either teams they have at the top. Like I don't really have an issue with any. Like I think the Bucs should be higher. Are you kidding me? Mike Evans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great room there.
They should be ahead of the Packers. They should be 10.
Mm-hmm.
But then like
I think for them though, they just like I think this rankings and this Ian guy, I think obviously like he's just looking at the full depth of a room. Like I don't think it's like hey, like they have these 2 guys. Like I think they're like he's looking at like 1 through 4.
But the Bengals, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, but who do they? Who do they have after that?
Jermaine Burton.
Trent
Irwin, Charlie Jones.
Come on, Jermaine Burton.
Yeah, hey, Burt's gonna have like 600-700 yards this year, Jeff. You watch.
I do think like when JMO plays, I think like if you are looking at these teams like the Bengals, they have 2 really good guys. Eagles, 2 really good guys. Vikings, 2 really good guys. Like I think once you see Jameson Williams play this year, you're going to feel a lot better than the Lions being at 13. And I think you're going to get to a point to where you're like arguing like what they should be in the top 10 when it comes to wide receivers. Like I do think like when Mike says JMO 1,000 yards, I'm with him on that. Like what you're seeing out of JMO, you should expect him to go out there and get 50 to 60 yards a game now. And that's kind of for me an expectation for him and Amon-Ra St. Brown to go up there and put up a ton of yards too. As crazy as it sounds, and you're like, how did all these yards get around? JMO's going to find a way. Like he is that much better than Josh Reynolds. Like he's going to get up, he's going to play, and you're going to be like, this is a top 10 room instantly because you have 2 of the best in the league. That's how I feel about JMO right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, JMO, him arriving, they're gonna. It's different. It depends what level he gets to, but yeah, I see people loving Jermaine Burton. I did watch Jermaine Burton at Alabama. He's a good receiver.
He's silky.
Silky. Okay, you know
he
what?
Is. Hey, Tyler Boyd, much less different wide receivers. Tyler Boyd definitely is going to have more catches, but like Tyler Boyd was getting 500-600 yards at the floor.
Yeah, he's going to fill some of that.